Hello, everybody, and welcome into Mayday. Hello, welcome back to the show. I know we had a week off. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thanks for asking, so did I. We had turkey and stuffing and cream spinach and every other thing possible, including the sweet potato thing with the burnt marshmallows. Love it. I know, a lot of people don't. I do. And we also had ham, for those of you that think ham is, for some reason, the superior meat. We're not here to scream at each other about that. We're here to talk about baseball. A very fun show planned for you today with some interesting things, including some rumors. We have more rumors. We're going to do a rumor roundup, cover all of the news that has come out about possible trades, possible free agency signs. I'm going to talk directly to, because I know he's watching, Hal Steinbrenner and his comments recently. Open letter to Hal Steinbrenner. I have some thoughts on the entire situation, because as we know, CBA is coming. I feel a certain way about a certain group of people that do certain things, and it might devolve into a little bit of a rant, but I think I'm gonna be approaching it in a way that maybe you're not expecting as much. And then later we got AMA, we got the Internet Says. We're going to answer a lot of your questions. We're going to talk just holistically about baseball and have a good time. But first, we got to start with some of the most recent free agency signs. A lot to get into here. I'm seeing a whole bunch of stuff on the internet where the question is, are we seeing a bunch of free agency overpays here early-ish, in the offseason? I keep forgetting it is December. Are we seeing some free agency overpays? Including this gentleman, Dylan C. So the goal with this beginning segment of the show is to talk about three pitchers that have recently signed pretty lucrative deals coming off of, well, not their best years, okay? And in free agency, in baseball, your year before going into free agency is called a platform year. It is the year that you are going to use in your proposals to teams. You're going to set, teams basically reach out, they say, what are you looking for? You kind of give them a general, like, we're looking for this, we think the value's around here, and the teams either scoff at it or say, that sounds pretty good, or that's fairly close. You know, there might be something there. Is there any wiggle room with years or numbers, right? So you get one of those three kind of replies, and then you figure out who might be in and who you can then come back to with a proposal. So, like, some teams come to you. Sometimes you go to teams and you just say, hey, this is happening over here. We know you have a need here. We just want to let you know so you don't miss the party. And that is how these things usually get kicked off. Sometimes they go really quickly, and sometimes they don't, right? Sometimes there's, a bunch of teams in, sometimes there's only one. Sometimes someone comes in right at the end. That happened to me my last year with the A's. They were not even on the radar until right at the end, and they just kind of came out of nowhere. And so, like, that happens. And it's very interesting because that leads us to these numbers that we're getting. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go over these three deals, and we're going to look at it statistically, anecdotally, and try to decide whether or not we believe that this is an overpay, or if it's kind of aligned with how these things work, and then what other forces can be kind of thrown in there that might drive the number up just a little bit past where you think it is, that make it feel more of an overpay than it is. There are like details that might make it make more sense. And so I went and found a bunch of them, and I would like to share them with you. And we are going to start with Dylan Cease and his big deal with the Toronto Blue Jays, as reported by the Athletic here, for a 7-year, $210 million deal to Toronto. If you're doing the math at home, that is $30 million a year, generally AAV, but we do know there is a certain level of deferments happening. We don't know exactly what that number is. Deferments are interesting in this context too because of the tax issue and the Canada thing, and there's a lot that goes into that, much of which I'm still learning as we go, but deferments are almost necessary at times, and bonuses, which are where you're paid at your home because you're only paid during the season. So your paychecks only go in the season, the off season, they don't come through. So like you can claim that you're somewhere else if you're paid in the off season, so bonus because it can be given then. Those come to play and are probably going to keep coming into play more and more and more for Toronto because Toronto seems to be spending money and they do seem to be leaning into those mechanics in order to make a little bit more sense both for them and the players. So there is deferred money. As of this writing, I didn't know, we couldn't find what it was, but the projection is around $26 million a year in annual value AAV, okay? So let's go through it statistically, because as we all know, as many of us know kind of intuitively, but also know from watching, he had a down year last year comparatively. If you remember in 2022, he had that stellar year where he was a runner-up for the Cy Young with the 2.2 ERA, where he absolutely dominated in Chicago. This was not that year. He was 8-12 with a 4.55 ERA. He threw 168 innings, which is good, 152 hits, which is, though it's not quite as dominant as he's been in the past, that's still good, right? And he struck out 215 guys in those 168 innings. So peripherally, like, the pieces are still there. He tends to walk a higher number. He's walked 71 guys in 168 innings, good for a 9.8% walk rate. The league average is about 8.8%. You're going to see a trend with all three of these guys. They walk slightly above average, but just like the other two guys we're going to talk about, his improved through the year. So he walked way more at the beginning of the year and then got settled in a little bit, and that often happens, especially for starters. But he has a 29.8% K rate. So, like, that has always been there. It's been there through every single year, good, bad, or indifferent. And he had a 1.33 whip, which is too high, in my opinion. But a lot of factors can factor in that. So, like, if we're looking at potential-wise, because a lot of this stuff is based on projecting into the future, and he has had an ace-style year, and he's thrown a no-hitter. Like, he's shown that, like, if he clicks, if there's another thing that just clicks for a few months, he could be the best pitcher on the planet, which oftentimes is enough to get a deal done like this, okay? So let's talk a little bit about what happened last year, and I'm going to pull on a thread that I pulled on a couple times earlier in this past season to explain Devin Williams' struggles, even Ryan Helsley a little bit after the tipping thing, and how big of a difference a defense can make on this style of pitcher. The high strikeout, high risk, high reward sometimes guy where runs come in bunches because it's usually related to home runs or like damage type hits. It's just the way that it is. When you get lots of swing and misses, you tend to give up more fly balls, and more fly balls are tending to go out of the park more because that is the hit. It's like a trade-off, right? So you might get more strikeouts, which means you can strand a lot more guys if things go your way, but also you tend to give up that 3-run home run more than, say, a Logan Webb, who is getting ground ball after ground ball after ground ball. Now, Logan Webb gets ground balled to death sometimes, where it's just 4-hole, 6-hole, 4-hole, 6-hole, 4-hole, 6-hole, and he can't get a strikeout, and he needs to get out of the inning, but he can't because he keeps giving up contact. That's the flip side. Dylan Cease is not one of those guys, and the other two we're about to talk about are also not. So that tends to hurt them if their defense isn't good. So this is what happened last year in terms of defense. The Padres were 19th in fielding run value with -1, 19th in the league, and they were also 19th in the league in outs above average with -7. So overall as a team, even though they have the platinum glove in the right field, overall they're a below average defensive team, okay? When you're a fly ball guy, especially, you need the outfield to run things down. Things in the gap, you need to be able to get some help there once in a while, or things over their head, you need to get help there once in a while, right? So if you have one outfielder or a revolving door of two outfielders that just, like, you haven't really found something that sticks, or even the infield just doesn't have the range and the things that are getting through the infield usually don't, that can hurt you, and those are still earned. There's been a big argument online. This is happening a lot. I think it's because I'm starting to teach younger guys to pitch a little bit more here up where I live, that I'm becoming aware of the social media side of teaching and talking about value in players. But like Derek Jeter, everyone says he wasn't great defensively. I believe Derek Jeter was a rock solid. He made all the plays he should make. The problem was he just didn't have the range that other guys had. So things that were just hits were just outs for other guys, but he just didn't touch them at all, so they were hits. Like, that's a thing. That's a real thing. That there is guys with higher range that make more plays, and that they just get everything. It's not just making the play that they field it and they make the good throw. He was good at that. It's the ball that's hit into the hole that another more athletic person who has better lateral range actually gets a glove on it. He doesn't even touch it. And one's called an out and one's a hit. But no error was made. So errors aren't the only thing that matter. It's about range, all right? That happens. And he wasn't on a great defensive team. That factored in a little bit, okay? On the flip side, the Blue Jays last year were first in FRV, which is fielding run value, and 45, and 7th in outs above average with 21. So they're a very good defensive team. So that tells me that that might help the case that Dylan Cease might get a little bit more lucky with us because we have elite defenders. And with no Bo Bichette, which is the only guy that really brought them down anywhere, is not going to be their shortstop next year. By all accounts, to be Andres Jimenez, who was a Gold Glove second baseman. So, like, that might be upgraded as well. And Bo Bichette was at short a lot this year, too. And they were still that good. So just factor that in. They might even be better next year. There's a chance with Dalton Varsho, rather. Like, they're just very good defensively. So that could mean that a few more plays are made for him that avoid that 3-run inning that make this ERA look way different. That's usually what pitchers are. It's not guaranteed, but it probably will help. His batting average of balls put in play, which is always higher for strikeout guys, remember, because you have less balls put in play, and that means the hits you do give up are a higher percentage of those hits, so therefore that batting average will be higher. It's still higher than his league or his career average. He had a 323 career BABIP, and his career was 297, so it's 25 points above. I like BABIP only when you are comparing it to the same person. So if you're comparing a guy's BABIP this year to their historical BABIP, that's a good way to say unlucky or lucky. If you're comparing it to the league, everyone's different, right? Ground ball guys have lower BABIPs because they give up more balls in play, and so that same number of hits is a lower batting average. That they just have lower ones generally. So there's no like benchmark number that's good. It's only comparative to yourself. And if you are historically a 270 guy and you have a 350, something's going on. Like, things are being hit that were hits that weren't before. A lot of times it's defense. A lot of times it's your location and you're just not locating very well. Sometimes it's both, right? So his was a little bit high, but actually not super crazy. So that doesn't fully explain only the defense, but it probably was a little bit of the factor. Again, it just takes 1 or 2 or 3 big hits to account for like 7 or 8 more runs than you would have given up, which could be a full run on your ERA, right? Like, that is how fast these things can swing, especially if you're a reliever. So it's worth noting. So he had a little bad luck. He didn't command the ball very well either. So a lot of this is on him, but he didn't have a great defense. So he just wasn't put in the position to like get away with a lot of stuff. He like, you know what I mean? Sometimes the margin of error is not as big. This year it wasn't. So that could account for it because a lot of the other peripheral numbers were there. So is he being overpaid is the question. Let's look at how teams look at it. They factor in WAR. I know everyone hates WAR. WAR is important. So the 2 WAR numbers I look at are B-WAR and F-WAR. B-WAR is baseball reference WAR. That is what happened, right? F-WAR factors in things that can be projected, what we think should have probably happened based on how he pitched. So if there's a big discrepancy between these, sometimes there's some bad luck in there. Sometimes projections aren't like foolproof, obviously, but they do account for more stuff usually. So his B-WAR was a 1.1, but his F-WAR was a 3.4. So like the Blue Jays are like, you know, I know he had a 4.5 ERA, which is high-ish, but everything else lines up to what we expect from him, and he's healthy. So like we still feel better about this. So right now, last year, the WAR, one WAR was like 7 or 7.5 million per on the lower end. Let's say it's anywhere from like 8 or 9 million this year because that's how markets work. So if he is averaging for his career, which he is, he's averaging on average between both WAR numbers he gets about 2.5 to 3.5. He's about a 3 WAR player a year. That would account to about $21 million. Or sorry, 24 million if we're saying it's 8 million. So if he's projected to be about a $24 million player based on WAR, and he's getting paid 26 after the deferments, it's pretty close. Pretty close at least. Like they're making that distinction behind closed doors. And he's also probably the prize starting pitcher, so that means other teams are probably involved, which could account for that extra $2 million. Like maybe they had to go $2 million more in order to beat everybody else. That's when the bidding war comes in. So we've established value, we know what we want to do, and then you have to beat another team's number. That is how this thing unfolds, and that's why sometimes you can get this little push past what maybe the average perfect value is. Maybe you get a little bit more than that because there was another team that was serious about it, and the difference between getting you and not getting you was worth the extra million or two. And I think that's what we saw here. I genuinely do think that's what we saw. And also, there are a few other pros I think that are worth mentioning. One, he's extremely durable. I don't think people realize this, but he has thrown 30 plus starts. I think it's 31 plus starts actually, 5 years in a row. Like he has thrown over 168 innings is actually his low. He has thrown in the high 100, like 160, 170, 180, 190 innings every year for 5 straight years and made 30 plus starts. So he's not been hurt. That is a huge, like, think about the state of the game now. That's a big deal. But that can have a flip side, which I'll talk about in a second. And he has ace potential. He has a no-hitter, and he has a year under his belt where he almost won a Cy Young. So it's in there. They feel like it's in there. And if we can get it in Toronto, if we can bring that out of him just a little bit more, then we could potentially be getting more value than we're paying. So I think that's pretty good. I think he could potentially be an ace. He gets a little bit erratic. He does walk too many guys. Again, though, that's something you can learn to be better at, right? So that can be a little bit of development. That can be some mechanical cue. That can be something in your brain that changes, and you just suddenly don't walk people anymore. He could do that at any point. That's part of becoming a better pitcher and going. The more places you go, the better chance you have to do that. But I would say after being that healthy for that long, he's thrown a lot of innings, and he throws hard. Hard throwers who throw lots of innings, it's pretty much inevitable that you are going to go under the knife for a year at some point. Garrett Cole did it last year. It was almost guaranteed. Like it was built in. They knew it was going to happen at some point. He's still worth his contract. So there is a chance, though, that probably happens in the next 7 years, a la like Chris Sale. Right? Chris Sale was healthy for 8 years, like literally didn't miss anything for 8 years, and then had 3 or 4 years where he was it was a struggle. It was a struggle for a while as he got older, but he threw tons of innings. So like, there's only so many innings you can throw, right? You can't say 100% healthy for 15 years anymore. Like it's just, or you're not competing. You're out of the game for that because you're not throwing very hard because you're trying not to get hurt. Like you have to chance it, and unfortunately, that's just the way that it comes out. So there's a chance that shows up at some point, but I'm sure they know that, and they're willing to sacrifice one of those years in order to get the upside on the back end, right? I don't like that it's like that, but it is. It's just work hazard, man. Workers' comp, any job that, especially physical labor, should have guarantees that as long as you give everything you got, if you get hurt, you still are going to be taken care of until you can get healthy again, because sometimes stuff happens. And that's just the nature of the game. So, do I think that's an overpay? Maybe just a bit, but I think that the bidding war might account for that, and that is normal. And this is not outside of the norm. Do I think he'll fulfill this contract? It just depends on how consistent he is in those 7 years. But the potential is there, and that's what they're paying for. So, I think this deal is a little bit better than it's being given credit for, and I think it was just a sticker shock that happened. That a lot of people were like, he was not very good last year. What are we doing? Like, but he has a lot of the things that a team would want, especially the health and the ceiling. And if you are confident in your ability to develop players, then you go get a Dylan Cease because he's shown that he's shown it before. They've seen it. We've seen it on the mound. So you pay premium for that, right? Okay. So. That's my grade on that. Number 2, old D. Willie. Devin Williams signs a 3-year, $51 million with the New York Mets. They are basically hedging against Edwin Diaz not coming back, though he is, by all accounts, negotiating to come back. Devin had a down year with the Yankees. We've talked ad nauseum about this. But he does do a lot of the similar things to Edwin Diaz, right? He goes on these streaks where he's unhittable. He strikes out the world. Yes, it gets dicey there sometimes a little bit, and cardiac, but he also can punch out everybody. And he finished very strong and had a very good showing in the playoff series. He pitched really well. So from August 10th on, he was nails. He was what we saw. But as we established in the What's Wrong with Devin Williams video on YouTube, his defense was not great. And he was used to being on a Brewers team that was very good defensively every year. They're always top 5 defensive team, and he benefited from that because he is a fly ball guy, he strikes out a lot of guys, and he has a very high BABIP, usually, unless your defense is incredible and the balls are being run down. So let's go through the stats on the deal real quick. 3 years, $51 million deal. It's actually $15 million of that 51 are deferred, so that's $5 million from each year, so that brings the AAV down it was 17 down to 12, and then he's getting paid $2 million a year in bonuses because presumably he lives somewhere with a lower state tax rate than New York City, which is pretty much everywhere but California. I'm assuming he probably lives in Florida or Texas, or I mean, he might live in Washington. I don't know. He's maybe in one of the no income tax states, which means those $2 million every year are taxed like 13% or 11, I think it's 12%, 12.1% less. So that's not nothing. That's $250,000 in realized real money, which then helps offset the deferments. So there's a lot of stuff moving around here. So that number is really big, but like the deferments also lower the value of it because it's paid later. And so the AAV projection is more around, instead of the 15 million, it's more around the 12, 13 million a year, like in real money. That's how much it's really actually worth long term. And no, probably more like 14. But so you can go by 17. I'm going to go use the 14 number and see if $14 million a year is the right price for Devin Williams. Last year didn't go as well as it should. He had a 4.79 ERA, 62 innings pitched, 45 hits allowed. That's pretty good. He had 90 Ks. That's really good. 25 walks, a little bit high, but again, he got better as the year went on, which is good for a 34.7% K rate and a 9.7% walk rate, which is, again, about 1% above average. He's still got to work on that. It is just something he does. But he had a 1.13 whip, that's not a ton of base run. Like, that's solid. Like, that's not a ton of guys on base. It was just like he was getting hurt by the random homer every once in a while. He had 15 holds and 18 saves, and he only blew 4 saves the whole year, including holds. So, like, I know they were I think they came like three of the 4 came in like 2 weeks. So we remember that. But like for the most part, he did the job that he was out there to go, even though it was messy sometimes. And he finished the year really strong. So what happened last year? Let's talk about the defenses again. The Yankees were 12th in fielding run value at 8, and they were 18th in outs above average with -4. And we also established in that video before that the vast majority of the numbers bringing these numbers down were Anthony Volpe and Jason Dominguez in left. Like, those two guys were really, really struggled defensively. And everyone else was pretty good, well, above average. Bellinger was good. Judge was good. Goldschmidt, when he was playing first, was good. Ben Rice is average. He's not great, but it's possible. So, like, there's a lot going on there, but they're just a slightly below average defensive team. It's not as bad as you think it is, but it's not great. Okay. Also, there is a truck backing up because, of course, I'm sure they'll back up for the next 20 to 35 minutes, though. So I apologize for that, but there's nothing I can do about it. Oh, or they won't. Great. Moving on. Back to the defenses. Okay, now he's going to the Mets, who were worse than the Yankees. So that's not great. But the Mets were 19th in FRV with a -5 and 21st with an outs above average with -13. But they added Marcus Semien, who was a +7 outs above average by himself at second base. So him and Lindor up the middle will make a big difference. They kind of had a revolving door of second baseman. So that should help. They should improve. And they're looking to improve their outfield at moving Nimmo and moving on. So by all accounts, they will get better. But do I think they're going to get like top of the league better? Probably not. They'll probably be like an average to above average team. So I don't know if it's going to benefit a ton from that. His BABIP was 299 when his career average is 270. Now that was crazy high. It was like 340 for a lot of the year, and then he started to have stuff go his way a little bit, especially when Volpe got a little bit less playing time, and Jason Dominguez started a platoon, and they got him out of left field. Basically, when they got Caballero, his BABIP got much better. So he's really hurt by defense. Devin Williams is really hurt by poor defense, and he always has been. And he's always had good defense until he went to the Yankees. So we'll see if the Mets can, like, if they have the type of defense that he can get away with some of the stuff he does. but I think in general it will improve, and it might be okay. In WAR, he had a .3 B WAR and a 1.1 F WAR. Again, big discrepancy. So they're like, yeah, he got a little bit unlucky with some defense stuff and some timing stuff, and that made it look a lot worse than it maybe was. I agree with that statement, though he wasn't as dominant as he was before. Just general, even the underlying numbers weren't as good, but they were more in line, right? And he just wasn't getting the results until August, and then he started getting those results, and then we saw what good version of him is. So he gets about a 1.1 to a 1.4 WAR every year. Again, we're saying $8 million per WAR. That takes us to what, 10 to 12 million a year-ish as fair value just based on WAR. So he's getting a 17 AAV, but again, we're going to take that down to 14. Still a little bit of an overpay, I think. Even with the deferrals, it's still like 14 and a half. So yes, he's maybe making a little bit more money, especially with a 3-year deal. A little bit more money than his value shows from last year, but again, he has track record before that, so maybe that adds a couple more years. And also, he's one of the premier relievers on the market, which then does what? Creates a little bit of a bidding war, makes him affordable, and him and like Edwin Diaz, he's worth more. Like, he's more expensive than Devin Williams, so maybe the team's like, we're not going to be able to get Edwin Diaz. We're not going to be able to coax him away from the Mets. They're just going to outbid us anyways. So let's go for the number 2 guy. That's Devin Williams. And then maybe there's a bidding war that bumped it up a little bit. So, is this an overpay? I think slightly, maybe I'm leaning that way. But again, I think it's accounted by the way that free agency works and the way that the market is, where he sits in that draft, in that depth chart. It's pretty close. He maybe got a scooch more than I would have guessed. I would have said like maybe 345. That would have felt more close to right on. But again, I love it when players can get just a little bit more. Again, it's about furthering the market as well. So that job was done as well. But I don't think this is a crazy deal either. Maybe the years is crazy. Maybe it was a 2-year deal, would have made more sense. Maybe opt-outs after every year would be different. Like we're trying to re-platform. I don't know. Those things weren't in there, though. So maybe it's a little bit risky, just barely. But, I think he's going to be fine. And he's played in New York for a year, so he knows what to expect. So it's not horrible. And if they got Edwin Diaz, I'm feeling really happy about it. Okay. Now, our last deal, before we move on, Ryan Helsley signs a 2-year, $28 million deal with the Baltimore Orioles. And he has an opt-out after the first year player option. So we have 1 player option, opt out. When there is a player option, like what Blake Snell did with the San Francisco Giants, what Pete Alonso did with the Mets, when there's a player after the first year with a high AV, that is a re-platforming year. They're hoping they can go recoup some of their value and then possibly test free agency again to get the big payday. So it's basically just it's called a bridge deal. This feels like a bridge deal with some security on the back end, meaning like if it doesn't work out, I still make that I can still opt in, make that $14 million on the back, and they have to pay me. No one wants to have to approach it that way, but that is why that's there. Okay, so that's $14 million a year. As far as I know, there's no deferments. And this is his last year. He had a 4.5 ERA, 56 innings, 61 hits allowed. That's a red flag for me. Giving up more hits than innings as a reliever is a red flag, especially when you throw 100. 63 Ks, still not a super high K rate, and a 25 walks for a 25% K rate and a 9.9% walk rate, which is the highest of the 3 we've talked about, with a 1.5 whip. Those numbers are not as good as the other 2. Like his underlying numbers aren't as good as the other 2. They're not screaming that he just had a weird year with unlucky. There was something else. He had 21 saves, a single hold, and 9 blown saves. So he was like 30% of the time not getting the job done. That's also a big red flag. But remember, he had a 3 with the Cards, that's ERA, and a 7.2 with the Mets. So a lot of this had happened with the Mets. We know about the tipping that happened, but there's one big concern for me, and that's gave up way more hits and struck out less guys this year. Those are not good, right? You can say high hits, but still high strikeouts. Maybe there's unlucky. Higher hits and lower strikeouts means it might be stuff related. That's concerning to me. Even though we didn't see a lower velocity, it could be command related. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. But how much did defense have to do with it? again, this is another red flag. Didn't have a lot to do with it. The Cards were 9th in FRV and with 21 and tied in first with the Cubs with 36 outs above average. So they had a very good defense, and though he had a 3, which helped, the other numbers didn't really improve. Like the strikeout numbers weren't better, and he still gave up lots of hits. He was better with them, but he still had a 327 BABIP with them when his career average is a 277. So he's still 50 points above with the team that was good defensively. That's not great. That's, again, we're now possibly it could be location or stuff related. Now he's with the Orioles. They're 22nd in both FRV and outs above average with -22 and -24. So he's going to a much, much, much worse defensive team. A worse defensive team than the Mets were last year, which, again, not great. So we ended the year with a 344 BABIP, which is 67 points above his career. So there is some unluckiness, but also I went and looked at fastball command. It was right down the middle, a lot of just middle. And his slider was the only pitch that got people out. His fastball was absolutely shellacked all year, and that is concerning for a guy who throws 99 to 101. I don't know why. Like, even with that command, you should still be getting missed hits, but they were just on it. And so there's something wrong. There's something with the fastball that's not working very well, even when you miss your spot. And when you throw that hard, you're supposed to be able to get away with that stuff, and he wasn't. Okay, let's talk about WAR. B WAR 0.1, F WAR 0.2. Again, now they're closer together, so even peripherally, he didn't underperform because of unlucky. It's showing he's not that unlucky. I'm more concerned about this still. Like, maybe not, but he has averaged a 1 to 1.2 WAR, but he's getting $14 million a year in AAV. So even his league year average of 1 would give him $8 million. Even from that metric, this is an overpay. There's a lot going on. But he is pretty durable. He's made 50-plus appearances in 4 of the last 5 years. He has 105 saves in his career, which is experience, but sometimes he's got poor command. He relies heavily on the slider. He's a 2-pitch guy. He's got a changeup, but it's just kind of there for show. The poor performance seems less about defense and more about his stuff on his fastball and the way he's commanding the zone. So he gets hit really hard sometimes. Now, one caveat, tipping. He might have been tipping all year. So, like, if that can explain a lot. Tipping is a big deal, especially for a guy who throws 2 pitches. So if they're picking up on his fastball, doesn't matter how hard you throw, man. If you're picking up on your fastball and you're throwing it right down the middle all the time, you're just going to get lit, which happened quite a bit. He had a lot of blow-ups, especially in New York. So I do think this is a little bit more of an overpay. But again, get your money. If a team's willing to give it to you, great. And I think that this was much more of a bidding situation because the Orioles desperately need someone to finish games because Felix Bautista had shoulder surgery. He's not going to be ready for spring training, and they don't know what version of him they're going to get anyways. So they don't want to. They want some security out there, and they simply weren't willing to pay enough for Devin Williams, and that's probably what this came from. Like, he's the more affordable option for more teams, which means there was more people involved with that one, which means they wanted to get it done quickly because the Orioles have a lot of needs. That's probably what came. They're just like, you know what? Go get him. It's a 2-year deal. In the big scheme of things, $28 million just isn't huge. It just isn't. We can afford to really miss on this more than we can on a guy for 5 years, right? So I think that's what happened. But it would lead me to the conclusion that was indeed a little bit of an overpay. But I think the Orioles know that, and they're okay with it. And if they're okay with it, so am I. All right? Okay, so those are the big things that I think went into these deals. So when these deals seem crazy because of recent performance, it's important to ask a few other questions, okay? Like, how big of the hole is the team that this guy fills, right? For example, in Helsley's case, a big one, right? That we need this specific thing really badly, that could drive the price up. Does he fit with the rest of the team's strengths? Meaning, we're good defensively, this guy got hurt by bad defense. We can, he's just gonna improve a little bit. There's gonna be a little improvement no matter what he does. He can throw the same thing as he did last year, which wasn't good, and he'll still be a little bit better, probably, because we have a better defense. That's a good question. What other options are there out there? right? Like if this is exactly what you need and there's just the guy behind him just isn't going to fill that hole, you only have one option. The other two guys are too expensive. You only have one option, so you got to go for it. And is anyone else going to bid us? Is there a bidding war? Like, was there a bidding war involved? Probably. You can kind of intuit that. They usually don't tell you, but they usually. So ask those questions. A little bit of education for you. Just thought it was interesting. I hope you enjoyed it. But those are these guys overpaid, or are we all just freaking out for no reason? Usually, it's that second one. All right. We're going to move on to the rumor mill here in a moment. But first, a word from some guys I know.
I have a unique holiday gift idea. It is called Superpower because, Kratz, they care about you. It's a very unique health platform. It's new, and it finally gets you the answers that you need about what's really happening inside your body and what to do about it.
I got the answers. I'm on the journey of what to do about it. Why would I not want to give it to one of my loved ones in my life?
Give your loved ones something that actually lasts. That's right, Kratz. Better health and more time with you. If you go to superpower.com/gift, you get a free $49 premium gift box with your gifted membership. After you sign up, they'll ask you how you heard about them. Please mention FT to support the show. One simple lab test measures 100 plus biomarkers. We're talking hormones, vitamins, minerals, and so much more. You'll get a full health report and a personalized action plan built by clinicians, including nutrition, supplement, and lifestyle guidance. Get after it, FT fam.
This holiday, give your loved ones the only gift that keeps on giving, health. Go to superpower.com/gift to get a free $49 gift box with your gifted membership. All right. A few housekeeping things before we move on. The Substack still exists, and we appreciate you for supporting one way or the other. You can do it you can subscribe for free. It's a weekly newsletter that keeps you up to date on everything we're doing here. We actually have some stuff in development that is going to make that even more fun. A little game that we are kind of coming up with ourselves. And by we, I mean me, because my team's probably like, I haven't heard about a game. I'm working on it. But it's a great idea. It's kind of a secret. I'm kind of giving it away, but I just can't keep secrets. And if you choose to support us monetarily, you will get everything that you get now for free forever. And if you choose to support the channel, just know that it's profit shared with the team. Everyone who is involved gets a little bit of that money. And I'm looking to expand that. And also, this is helping to fund other interesting projects we're doing. And I have a couple other content lanes that are going to be added later as well. So it's only going to get more stuff. It's not going to get less. Thank you so much. Also, Channel 2 is more Mayday. We have other videos over there, so make sure you're subscribed. And recently, I just released the next iteration of Trevor Throws Cheese / Trevor Throw Hits Dingers, where I'm learning to hit. Can he win? I have a home run derby coming up in January in Oracle Park against some YouTubers, namely JT and Will from the Baseball Bat Bros and JUCO Bandit himself, Eric Sim. We have some special in-between videos coming out too, but this is the first one. I went to Driveline. I got assessed. It's a blast. I edited this thing. It's my favorite video I've made in a long time. It would mean a lot to me if you watched it. There's some technical stuff in there. It's just Trevor May Baseball. You'll enjoy it. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me. All right, let's get into the rumor roundup. All right, rumor roundup. Let's get into it. Okay. First rumor of our rumor roundup: Cole Ragans, according to JJ Piccolo, the general manager of said Kansas City Royals, his team, is open to trading Cole Ragans if it helps them improve their outfield. We've heard this a lot recently, right? We've heard a lot about how the Kansas City Royals need an outfielder. They need outfielders so bad. It's so important they have outfielders. If the opportunity presents itself to get somebody for a bona fide potential ace, this guy I think is due for a big year. I would be hesitant to trade him. I'm sure they are, but again, that also means he's worth it to get some stuff. Here's a quote from Piccolo. A lot of teams are looking for starting pitching, so if we have what they may be interested in and they have an outfielder that would be of interest, then there's potentially an opportunity to make a deal, Piccolo told the Boston Globe's Alex Spire. The Red Sox are an ideal partner. As we know, they have a glut of outfielders with Cedane Rafaela, with Duran Duran, with Wilyer Abreu. They have a lot out there, a lot they're working with, and there's value there. So they're very interested in Duran Duran, though I don't think this is too much for just Duran Duran. There will have to be more involved, but stay tuned. I will say I'm real high on Cole Ragans. It's a health thing for me. If he just can stay healthy for a whole year, oh my! I think you have your ace, and I don't think you should. And he's controllable. I just think you should hold on to that thing for dear life. But again, health has been an issue, so we'll wait and see. But it is interesting. You got to do what you got to do, right? Okay. The Cincinnati Reds have been connected to this man, Kyle Vivian Schwarber. Okay. According to the Athletics' Ken Rosenthal, the Reds are serious about pursuing free agent Kyle Schwarber. They're interested in a possible homecoming because Kyle Schwarber grew up 35 miles from Cincinnati. Yes, he is well acquainted with Skyline Chili. Rosenthal notes that the Phillies will most certainly offer more money. Duh. Thank you, Mr. Dombrowski. But the Reds hope that their improvement last season under a new manager, that is Tito Francona, and their surplus of young guys would be interesting to him, being part of something that's on the up and up, and it's home. And you can't underestimate how being close to home can be important to guys like this. And I think Kyle Schwarber is a prime candidate for take a deal for that reason. Let's talk about maybe a likely trade candidate. This is Jeffrey McNeil, the most boring Subway sandwich in the league. The Mets bringing in Marcus Semien. Jeff McNeil might be one of the likeliest players to get traded this winter. I feel like this is said every single year with this man because he is a utility. He has great bat-to-ball skills. He's a different hitter every year. He's willing to change. I think that it might be good for him to go somewhere else, but it makes sense that he would be an interesting ad for any team because he can fit in different places. ESPN's Jeff Passan and Kylie McDaniel give McNeil an 80% chance of being dealt in a recent article ranking the top players that could be traded. That's interesting. That's pretty high. And the quote is, the expectation then is that McNeil will be dealt even if New York needs to eat some of his $15.75 million deal with the $2 million buyout on an option for 2027, which is generally we're in the back end now of his deal, which was a team friendly. So the numbers are getting a little bit higher, but I'm sure they could get that thing done. I don't think that's going to be a sticking point. So we'll see what happens with Jeff. Michael King, recent free agent for the San Diego Padres, is connected to possibly the Tigers of all teams. The Tigers team that has, for some reason, been fishing Tarek Skubal out there. But you go get a guy like Michael King, you add him behind Tarek Skubal, something that gets scary real quick. I think this guy is very good. I think we have not seen the best from him. I think he knows how to pitch. And this was also reported by the Detroit Free Press's Evan Petzold. The Yankees, Marlins, and Cubs are also showing interest. It'd be interesting to see if he decided to go to the Yankees again. I don't see how the Marlins could factor into this at all. No one is under any illusion the Marlins are maybe. They looked better this year, but also they faded, so we'll see. Speaking of those Marlins, according to MLB.com's Christina DiNicola, the Marlins are reportedly actively not trying to trade Edward Cabrera or this man, Sandy Alcantara. That just means they're not out there like, hey guys, who wants them? Which is normal. That doesn't mean they're not open to it. That just means that they're not actively trying to do it. And they said the one that is more likely, this is DiNicola again, is more likely to be traded is Cabrera, which is interesting. I think that Sandy in a where there's some free agency, but there's no real front end guys besides Cease and maybe Framber out there, and King, there's lots of threes. He could be really valuable in a trade. So I think they should keep that open. But I just work here. What do I know, right? I'm just a guy. I don't know anything. Interesting. I can't wait to figure out what the Marlins are doing eventually. I don't know, but it's fun to watch. Moving on. We have a new highest ever domestic pitcher signing out of the KBO. That is Korean Baseball League. And that is Cody Ponce. ex-Pittsburgh Pirate, has signed with, again, the Toronto Blue Jays in a 3-year, $30 million contract, breaking Eric Fetty's 2-year, $15 million contract that he signed before the 2024 season with the Cubs. That is very interesting to me. A former second-round pick, he threw 55.2 innings, 0.1 innings with the Pittsburgh Pirates in 2021, but he remade his arsenal in Korea and had an incredible year to the tune of, this is nuts, by the way, this is nuts. I believe he had 2 games where he struck out 15 plus. He was the KBO MVP as a pitcher, going 17-1 with a 1.89 ERA and 252 strikeouts against 41 walks in 180 innings for the Hanwha Eagles. Whoa. That is, I'll be honest, those are unassailable numbers. Like there's something there. Now, that's not going to translate directly, but like if you're getting 9 or 10 Ks per 9 in the major leagues, like W. $10 million a year for a starting pitcher if they're solid and they stay healthy is not bad. So congratulations to you, man. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Moving on, Sonny Gray. He is a Boston Red Sox, the newest member of the Boston Red Sox. He had some comments recently, which I always love it when there's comments. He said, if you remember, he was a Yankee that was traded to the Yankees from the A's in 2017, and also went in 2018 with them in a four-player swap. He scuffled a little bit, 4.5 ERA, 41 appearances, 34 starts, before the Yanks shipped him over to the Reds. So here's what Gray said to the media yesterday about his time with the Yankees. What did factor into my decision to come to Boston? Because he had to waive no trade to go there. It feels good to me to go to a place now where you know that it's easy to hate the Yankees, right? It's easy to go out and have a rivalry and go into it with full force, full steam ahead. I like the challenge. I never wanted to go there in the first place. Gray said, just didn't really work out for who I am. So, though I haven't dove in very deep yet, I'm sure Yankees fans, let me know in the comments, Yankees fans, how does that make you feel? I'm sure we're all taking it in stride. Okay, moving on. Anthony Rendon's in talks to have his last year of his 7-year, $245 million deal bought out, potentially bringing a resolution to this absolute travesty of a deal. I think he knows that too. I think everyone knows it. No one is under any illusions that this worked out at all. And it turns out that like people who sign with the Angels are just like, yeah, dude, give me the money. I know I know we don't really know what we're doing over here, but it's what you do. He hit 231 in 205 of his potential 248 games. He has injured his left groin, left knee, left hamstring, left shin, left oblique, lower back, both wrists. Both his send him on the injured list. Wow, that's a whole bunch of left side. Ow, that doesn't feel good. But honestly, if the Angels can get the monkey out the back and he can kind of just move on, all the better. I don't know what this is going to look like. I don't know if it's a full buyout, but I know that one thing about him, he knows what he's owed, and that's how contracts work. And I know it's hard to swallow, whatever, but it is what it is. He's never been shy about saying this is a job for him. Other things come first. I do have a personal story. I did meet Anthony Rendon in AA, I think the first year after he was drafted. I really like him, good guy, but it was very clear that baseball, his life did not revolve around baseball. And to be honest, I liked it a lot because I was like, yo, dude, me too. It's good to know that, because I would look around and people would be like, baseball, like all day, every day, all the time, every moment, everything, all the time. And I like to do other things. I'm nerdy and like to do other things sometimes. And for him to be like, yeah, dude, I love basketball. I'm just really good at this. Like, you know, he didn't say anything explicit like, I'm out of here once I get paid. Like, he never said anything like that, but it was very clear. He's like, yeah, like, I like it. It's fun. Like, I have a good time. I like being around the guys, but like, there are things that like get me going more. And I knew that immediately. He was 23 years old, 22 years old. I just saw it coming. So this doesn't surprise me as much as it surprised a lot of people. Nah, this was surprising. The way this went down was surprising. But I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes Like, to expect people to, like, you can't force people to be obsessed with things. Like, that's just it's impossible. Just think about anything like that. Even if you're good at it, even if you're paying a lot, being paid astronomical amounts of money for it, still, like, manufacturing obsession and passion for something is impossible. So I'm going to cut him some slack there. Okay. Moving forward, let's talk a little bit about the WBC, because it is coming. I want to give this just a little bit more time, and then we will do our next segment in the next hour when we move over to Trevor May Baseball. So if you want to see the Hal Steinbrenner conversation, you're gonna have to go over there. It's just how time works. I'm sorry. I got really excited about that first segment. Anthony Rendon is not what we're talking about right now. What we're talking about is World Baseball Classic. It's coming. I know we've all waited for it. It's one of my favorite things to watch, especially with how last time went. Like, come on, like, Shohei Ohtani lines up with Mike Trout, his teammate, for the last out in a 3-2 game. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Can we get anything like this? So we have people who are now kind of committed to going with their teams, and I want to go over some of those things, but I also want to just talk a little bit about how awesome the WBC is and how excited I am for it, because I think one of the best parts, and a lot of people talk about football/soccer, right? And a lot of people in America don't get it. And that's okay. You can not like the game itself very much, but you can't deny that the way that rivalries work in like South America and Europe, I mean, I know a lot of it has to do with literally socio-political political like stuff that's happened. Like, they actually genuinely hate each other. But it's electric. Like, there's something about it. It's just electric. The FIFA World Cup, I do not watch soccer ever. Not that I don't care. I just haven't gotten quite into it yet. When the World Cup comes, I care. I think it's awesome. Even though I know the USA is not going to do anything, it's still awesome because you see these groups of people rooting for their team, and it's theirs. Those are their guys. So this is baseball's version, and I love it. I love it so much. I want it to the point where, and Henry and I were talking about this yesterday, we want to get to the point with the WBC. Maybe it's attached to the Olympics. I know this has been thrown out about this summer maybe, or something, like, or in the future maybe having it be an Olympic thing. But if we can figure out a way to where it's just a foregone conclusion that your best players are going to go, like it used to be with the NBA and the Dream Team, like I just want that. I want where we know our best are going, that we know their best are going, and we can truly know like the best players are playing against each other, and it's not just a throwaway thing. And the reason it's like that is just because of when it is, guys. It's during spring training. Like, a lot of guys need spring training to get ready for the season, and that is their main job. And it doesn't have the same thing as FIFA, because those FIFA guys are also paid, and like, it's part of the deal. It's a part of their way of making money. The pay isn't making a dent for a lot of these guys either. So it's like, how do we figure this out? I think we should, but the WBC itself should always exist. Okay, let's talk about the guys who have committed to their teams. Let's start with the United States. We have Corbin Carroll. Yes. PCA. Oh yeah. Aaron Judge. Cal Raleigh. That's the MVP and the guy who should have been the MVP. Bobby Witt Jr. Come on. Paul Skeens. Dude. And Garrett Whitlock. He was incredible last year too. All the young guys, man. I love it. Do it. And then all the young guys and Aaron Judge. That's great. Japan. So far, we just know Shohei, but we know their best. We know they're all going to be there. Venezuela, Salvi, still going. Rockin' Venezuela, love it. Puerto Rico, we have Francisco Lindor and the Puerto Rican himself, Seth Lugo, thumbs up. Dominican Republic, we know it's Juan Soto, best guy he could have gotten. Mexico, Munoz and Randy Rosarena, hell yeah, love it. Netherlands, as many of you know. Curacao. I believe Sedaine Rafaela is from Curacao. Curacao is a Dutch territory, so Bogarts, Rafaela, Jonathan Scope, like all those guys can play for them. So it's awesome. I believe Bogarts is going to play as well. We have Brazil. Bo Bichette is Brazilian. Love it. Bo Bichette going for Brazil. Italy has the Pasquatch, Vinny Pasquantino, and Jack Caglione, the two most Italian names you've ever heard in your entire life, and they are repping Team Italy, and I love it. They're going to have the vibes are going to be good in Italy. Bare minimum. And then for Team Israel, we have Harrison Bader, we have Dean Kramer, and friend of the show and one of the favorite guys to cover, Bob Stock, is playing for Team Israel as well. So cool. I love all the options. Unfortunately, England or Great Britain, it was the only team I could have played for. So maybe Canada, but they were so good they wouldn't even take me. So man, it would have been fun to play in the WBC. Opportunities were missed. Okay, before we get out of here, guys, we have one more word from some guys I know.
KP, the website is chubbyshorts.com. The brand is Chubbies, but it's not just shorts.
Yeah, don't be fooled by the website's name. This is a one-stop shop for all things that I love. Swimming trunks, golf polos, and even flannels. It fits me perfectly. One-stop shop is the place to go.
Yes, sir. KP, I've been wearing their flannel overshirt. It's like my favorite flannel and your softest sweater having a little baby. It's the best of both worlds. Classic flannel look with the warmth of a fleece. And we know it's that time of year to pull that off. The Chubbies flannel overshirt. It feels like your favorite flannel, but with the warmth of a cozy sweater. And for a limited time, Chubbies is giving our listeners 20% off your purchase at Chubbies with the promo code FOUL at checkout. But if it's Black Friday, skip the code. Take advantage of an even bigger markdown during their exclusive Black Friday sale. Just head to chubbiesshorts.com and make sure to support the show by telling them that Foul Territory sent you.
Your holiday wardrobe awaits. Get 20% off at Chubbies with the code FOUL at www.chubbiessports.com. That is CHUBBIESSHORTS.com/FOUL. 20% off. Do it. Chubbies are great. This just in, Matthew Boyd has also decided to join Team USA in the WBC. Fellow Seattleite, actually small world here. I actually literally just talked to Matt Boyd's dad in person 2 days ago. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? That's crazy. I will let him know personally if I see him soon that you guys are all very supportive of his decision. All right, guys, we are going to move on over to Trevor May Baseball for hour 2 of Mayday, where I'm going to talk about Hal Steinbrenner and how much he means to me. I have an open letter. I wrote this from the heart. I think this is important to say and do, and then we're gonna have some more fun over there. So, without further ado, I'm gonna take a short break here, possibly freshen up, and I'll see you over there on the other channel. Give me just a moment. See you in a second. Okay, bye.